Time now for Money Power Politics. Facebook again under fire after another devastating new report from the New York Times finding that it gave some of the biggest tech companies on earth, quote, more intrusive access to users' personal data than it had disclosed, effectively exempting those business partners from its usual privacy rules. According to more than 270 pages of internal documents and interviews with more than 50 former employees, the Times found that Facebook shared data with more than 150 companies through partnerships. And some partners say Netflix and Spotify had the ability to access users' data and even private messages without their knowledge. Joining me now, Politico's chief economic correspondent, CNBC contributor, and host of Politico Money Podcast, Ben White. Congressman Costello and Congressman Brown are back with me. Ben, back in April, Mark Zuckerberg testified, right? On Capitol Hill, he was pressed on the way that his company handles user data. I want to remind folks exactly what he said.
We don't sell data at all. So the way the ad system works is advertisers can come to us and say, I have a message that I'm trying to reach a certain type of people. They might be interested in something. They might live in a place. And then we help them get that message in front of people. But this is one of the it's widely mischaracterized about our system that we sell data. And it's actually one of the most important parts of how Facebook works is we do not sell data.
Okay, so as you smirk, they don't sell data, but the report does reveal that Facebook struck deals to share the information with dozens of Silicon Valley companies. What are we talking about here?
Yeah, well, we're talking about semantics in terms of not directly selling data. They share data, and apparently they share it a lot more robustly than we had thought, contrary to what perhaps they agreed to in this FTC consent decree in 2011. The big question is, are they in violation of that? And if they are, we're talking about very large fines. But the fact that they are allowing these outside companies like Spotify, like Amazon, Netflix, to have access to users' individual messages is going to really irritate a lot of people. You're seeing a lot of stuff on Twitter today about, I'm going to delete Facebook. There are existential problems here for Facebook.
Well, they're already in some trouble. I think there was a study back in September that found nearly half of users aged 18 to 29 have deleted the Facebook app from their phones. Now, that might not have to do with privacy concerns. It may just have to do with, I don't want to be on the same platform as my, grandma is to check out what I'm doing. But even if you go off Facebook, then is my information protected?
Probably not. No, I mean, they have all the information that you already put up there, and they've harvested that. They have that in enormous databases that is incredibly valuable. We live in an economy now where data is the coin of the realm. It is absolutely the most valuable thing that these companies collect, and they are sharing it in ways that people are not familiar with. And even if you've set your privacy settings to the utmost degree, it is now very clear that they violated those privacy settings in the way that they shared this data with Apple and with all these other tech companies.
So, Congressman Costello, records show, again, Facebook gives companies like Netflix and Spotify the ability to read your private messages if you're on Facebook. The relevant congressional committees have investigated. We just saw Mark Zuckerberg when he was on the hot seat, others as well. Can you say, though, at this point, after the investigations, to the American people, we as Congress are protecting you?
No. Listen, I was a party to those hearings. I sit on the technology committee. The reality is we do not have a privacy law in this country for data use. That is something that actually may happen in the next Congress. There's a number of companies, a number of members of Congress, senators and House members, who have put forth privacy principles. Based upon my review of the New York Times reporting, Facebook doesn't sell data, but they treat their data as a commodity, and they trade that commodity to be able to grow their platform with outside companies. And in the process, they circumvent what would otherwise be a requirement to get prior informed consent from Facebook users. That's what happened. So whether or not that was an FTC violation is a serious question that will have to be probed, and I would expect that Congress will have additional hearings next year, because when you don't have a law,
but hearings. What are you guys going to do about it?
Well, you need a privacy law so that we're all speaking the same language. You have big tech come before Congress, and they're using their own terms. Does anybody know what an integrated partnership is? I don't, but that's what Facebook was using And when you have an integrated partnership, as they're arguing, with an Amazon, all of a sudden they don't need your informed prior consent in order to share your data. You don't know what they're using that data for. And you have a company that simply says, oh, well, we used it appropriately. Well, how do we know that you used it appropriately unless we haul you into Congress and get answers? It continues to be a situation where we get a little bit of information incrementally at a time, and after the fact, we find out it's a much bigger problem than we were led to believe in the first instance.
So since you touched on it, Congressman Brown, one of the criticisms has been that Congress can't do anything because, frankly, they don't get it. They don't understand it technically, whether it's one phrase or the whole operating. We saw that. We saw that some of the questions that went to people like Mark Zuckerberg were pretty simplistic. So is that fair, first of all? Is my criticism and other people's criticisms fair? And do you see a path ahead for Congress to get a handle on this?
Yeah, I think Ryan is accurate in stating that Congress has to develop a better understanding of this industry and how they operate. It's not enough to call Mark Zuckerberg or any other CEO of a big tech company in solely for the purposes of publicly excoriating him and his company. What we need to do is bring them in to ensure that we fully understand the industry, how they operate, and that not only members of Congress, but quite frankly, the professional staff on Capitol Hill that doesn't have nearly the experience as the industry does in how they operate. So we need to better understand this. But let me also add that this is not solely a consumer protection issue, and that's very important, informed consent and disclosure. This is a national security issue.
Sure.
We know that at least one of the companies that had this more intrusive access to information has ties. It's a Russian company with ties to the Kremlin. So it's time that we develop a seatbelt law for Facebook. Just as decades ago, it took Congress to mandate seatbelts for the auto industry to provide the safety that we now enjoy in automobiles today. It's time for a seatbelt law for Facebook. The industry is mature. It's time for robust regulations, not to quell or to quash the industry, but to promote the industry and protect consumers.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.